So, well then, good morning. Let's start with our webinar. First of all, let me introduce you to myself. My name is Carsten Samaschke. I'm CEO of Cloudical, and today this webinar is about the future of cloud consulting as we perceive it, and I'm going to make a great announcement. Before we are going and coming to that announcement, let me and allow me to have a view and look back onto what is currently our challenging environment, what are we dealing with, what are the problems that we are confronted with. Generally speaking, if we speak of IT, we have a lot of challenges like greater flexibility and infrastructure being requested and expected by our customers, stakeholders, partners, peers. They expect faster deployments, faster reactions, better scalability, 24/7 availability, automation all over the place, governance, and all of that at lower costs. I don't need to tell you that that is basically screaming for like we need to change something, and that we need to change something is for many the approach and the aspect of saying, well, let's do cloud. There's nothing wrong with that approach, but before we dive deeper into that, let's have a short recap about what cloud and which cloud approaches are typically taken by people moving into cloud environments. Well, mostly, and that is basically what frankly like 80-90% of organizations do, they do just lift and shift approaches. And that basically means that they try to shut down their data centers and instead set up more or less complex replicas of their data centers in cloud environments. VMs for the rescue. There's nothing wrong with that approach. Don't get me wrong on that. Perhaps besides basically the aspect that you might not have that kind of saving aspect and that kind of flexibility aspect that you are looking for. Because frankly, most of the cloud environments that we are confronted with today are they are not centered around you. They are not centered around your needs. They just give you some infrastructure, and then you have to do all of the nice things on your own. That is why many organizations try to switch over to containers, because containers are set to be the next big thing. With containers, you don't have so much offset in regard to performance losses. With containers, deployment, undeployment, scaling should be way easier and way simpler than it was before. With containers, you can solve all of your infrastructure problems, right? Well, not. I mean, yeah, technically you could, but if you look at the reality, if you look at your world around you, the truth is not that simple, because with containers comes greater and bigger complexity, and complexity is actually what raises costs. With complexity, you have the issue of caring about multiple and hundreds of systems at the same time. Complexity is leading you into security problems, because with complexity, you might not be able to understand all of the approaches, all of the aspects, all of the options properly. So, containers to solve all the problems? No, not alone. Not alone. Containers are a good way, but you need more. And I know that for most of you that is just a recap, but please allow me to make that point. With containers, you need to have something like Kubernetes in place. You need to have a container orchestrator that is basically responsible for managing your containers. So with Kubernetes, you would say, okay, dear Kubernetes, please run my 500 containers with this and that state. And Kubernetes would take care of all of the heavy lifting. With Kubernetes, you gain things like self-healing services and automatic load management. Awesome functionalities, awesome features. Plus, Kubernetes is secure by design, and Kubernetes is 100% open source, and Kubernetes has a huge and ever-growing community around it. Sounds awesome, doesn't it? Absolutely. That's why, according to a recent study, 70% of all organizations plan to go now cloud native based on containers in the next 3 years. And that sounds great. That's awesome. That's basically like, that's going to be the future of cloud computing, doesn't it? Well, how do I put it without making you feel bad? No, it isn't. Containers are to some extent a solution, and Kubernetes is a solution, but Kubernetes on its own, then again, is very challenging. With Kubernetes, you have to live with a very steep learning curve. You have to accept huge integrational efforts and huge integrational aspects. Your applications need to be rewritten. And you have to have infrastructure and deployment automation in place. And speaking of Kubernetes, what about your virtual machines? Because not every application is already rewritten to be able to run in containers. Just pointing towards some of the most famous at the moment, just such as Jira or Confluence, those applications can be run inside containers, but they are not rewritten and they are not purposely set up to be able to run inside containers. That causes a lot of problems. Containers alone are not, the answer to everything. They are not basically your golden path alone. You need to work intensively with Kubernetes. You need to work with virtual machines for the time given and for the foreseeable future. And then there's another very important aspect. Your default installations of Kubernetes, if you just download it and want to run it, they are not production ready. What about storage? What about security? What about your own Docker or container registry? All of them are not included. You need to set them up on your own. You need to bring them into the game on your own. And quite often you are commercially window locked. That is why Cloudical invented VanillaStack. And this webinar is, although it might look like that, it is not about VanillaStack alone. But please bear with me. Follow me on that, because that leads to another thing. So, very shortly, what is VanillaStack if you haven't heard about it yet? VanillaStack is an enterprise open source cloud stack. It uses and understands Kubernetes as an operating system. So it actually tries to take away from many of the complexities of setting up Kubernetes. It allows you to bring your own data center. It gives you full commercial support. And most importantly, it is perfect to be run in a data center and in public cloud environments. It is able to run pretty much everywhere. I'm going to touch on that in a few seconds. And it is completely and truly and end-to-end open source. So VanillaStack consists of 100% open source projects. So with VanillaStack, you get a lot of transparency that you won't get with other platforms. We intentionally chose the vanilla editions of the projects. In fact, the name VanillaStack is referencing that. So vanilla editions of the projects like Vanilla Kubernetes, Vanilla, say, Cloud Foundry, Vanilla Harbor, and not customized versions by huge vendors that basically try to lock you in. We support the community and we get support from the community. And very, very importantly, VanillaStack does not impose any sort of vendor lock on you. With VanillaStack, you can run any kind of containerized workloads and many other workloads as well. And it is production ready. That's why it always comes with root object storage already included. Great thing about VanillaStack, it runs on nearly any Linux, such as Fedora, CentOS, Red Hat, OpenSUSE, SUSE Enterprise Linux, Debian, or Ubuntu, and it gives you a platform where your components are to be rolled out automatically. You do your initial installation via Vanilla Installer, and later on you do your updates via Vanilla Manager. But you can always use like Kubernetes or your other management tools to your liking. Everything that is rolled out on VanillaStack provides you with out-of-the-box integrations and operability. And since everything is containerized, you have commercial support for the complete platform, and you can roll back everything on the platform. Then again, good news, I already touched on that, and that's again not the point that I'm trying to make today, so please stick with me for another minute. VanillaStack runs everywhere, on bare metal, VMs, private clouds, public clouds, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and wherever you want to install it. That sounds great, doesn't it? That sounds like an awesome stack that you want to roll out. But there's an issue with VanillaStack, and I'm totally honest on that. There is something wrong with VanillaStack. And we are going to fix that today. Or at least I'm going to announce how we are going to fix that. So what is wrong with VanillaStack? Why do I show this slide with help? Well, the problem is that you need to set it up and roll it out on your own, which is great if you have your own data center, which is great if you want to be in complete and full control with everything. That's awesome. And we highly encourage you to do that. We highly encourage you to be the master of everything, to decide which cloud environment or private environment or data center environment, for that matter, you want to roll it in. We highly encourage you to choose your own Linux. We highly encourage you to set up your own machines because you are in control. You are the ones that are ultimately responsible for running your own infrastructure. We highly encourage you to do the setup using Vanilla Installer or, for that matter, using our Ansible tools. So we highly encourage you to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. And still, there's a lot of things wrong with that. And the things being wrong is basically that you are still forced to do that on your own. And that is why we today introduce VanillaCloud. VanillaCloud, before I touch on that, is, and that's pretty important, is VanillaStack. Keep that in mind for everything what I say next. VanillaCloud is there to solve you and to free you from having to set up your own infrastructures, having to pay for them independently of VanillaStack, having to do all the bells and whistles on your own. VanillaCloud is a new public cloud offering. So with VanillaCloud, you will be able to run your own VanillaStack in a cloud environment without having to set up anything, just by signing up and rolling it out, as you would do it with any of the other already existing cloud environments. But the thing that you are going to roll out is VanillaStack. It is Kubernetes. It is not something that is not controllable by you. It is not something that is, I don't know, like trying to ship your data overnight to the United States or whatever. That's not what is going to happen with VanillaCloud. VanillaCloud provides you with Kubernetes and VanillaStack and with a self-service option, so you are rolling out your clusters or shutting them down or increasing their size or decreasing their size. You are rolling out your workloads and so on and so forth, and with a nicely and neatly to use dashboard. It is, again, completely open source. So VanillaCloud is VanillaStack just rolled out for you and basically maintained and operated for you. With VanillaCloud, you can use all the vanilla tools and components that you love to use. And that's not referring to VanillaStack tools and components. That is referring to, for example, Kubernetes. That is referring to, for example, Helm. That is referring to whatever you want to use with your Kubernetes cluster, pretty much regardless of rolling it out locally or on a public cloud environment. Again, the same promise as with VanillaStack is still true with VanillaCloud. Whatever we roll out via the dashboard is always integrated and always works. And VanillaCloud gives you something completely new on a public cloud environment. Truly predictable pricing. Because with VanillaStack on our VanillaCloud offering, you roll out a number of VMs or virtual machines or physical machines for that matter. Going to touch on that in a few seconds. But it's not like that there are additional infrastructures rolled out that you would not expect to be rolled out. Your cluster per se is a Kubernetes cluster. So it is basically running on a number of machines. And on top of the cluster, you can roll out whatever you want to roll out. And I'm going to touch on that in a few seconds. But keep that in mind. You have a predictable pricing with VanillaCloud. It's not like, it will spin up another machine automatically or whatever. No, that is something that you decide for. And you can basically understand VanillaCloud as a solution to, for example, run as many virtual machines as you like for a fixed price, because they are run on top of your VanillaStack clusters within VanillaCloud. VanillaCloud is offering you 2 performance tiers initially. I'm going to touch on that in a few seconds as well. So you might ask, awesome, but what's actually and truly included? Well, good you asked, and glad you asked. Obviously, Kubernetes. VanillaCloud is Kubernetes. You have your own container registry, and if you happen to read through the press like the past weeks, when, for example, Docker announced that they are going to charge some projects and going to throttle them down unless they switch to a paid tier, here's your answer. With Harbor, you can have your own container registry. You are not dependent on the Docker Hub or some other commercially operated container registry, or even on container registries that are rolled out by another cloud vendor that you might not feel like is trustworthy. With Harbor, you have your own Docker registry in place. You can have your own Cloud Foundry instance rolled out at no additional costs. I need to say that. All of the things I'm going to talk about now are included, and that means like they are free as in beer, meaning you just set up your cluster, you pay for the infrastructure and don't pay for those additional workloads. So your Cloud Foundry can be rolled out just at the press of a button. And if you don't know what Cloud Foundry is all about, try to understand it as some sort of a Jenkins on steroids. Like you be able to just literally roll out source codes without having to create your own build pipelines, because that is all handled for you automatically. So Cloud Foundry is part of the game. KubeVirt is also part of the game. I was actually referring to that a few seconds ago. With KubeVirt, you are able to run your virtual machines on Kubernetes, and for that matter, on VanillaCloud. We included KubeVirt. So with VanillaCloud, you don't have any additional costs when running your virtual machines. Let that sink in. The only basically thing you need to keep in mind is the sheer size of your cluster. So you need to have enough resources. But if that is given, we couldn't care less, and you shouldn't care less, whether you roll out like 100 virtual machines on top of your cluster or 1,000. As long as there is enough infrastructure, you wouldn't be charged for another additional virtual machine. Rook is included. Rook is an awesome and just graduated to a full CNCF-backed project. Rook is an awesome framework for running and for managing your storage needs on top of Kubernetes. So with VanillaCloud, you always have storage being part of what you roll out. It's not like you need to provision additional storage. With VanillaCloud, you always have storage, and not just local storage, true storage being part of the game. And Rook is basically making that available to your cloud native workloads. We have Prometheus. Just press a button, roll it out. The same is true for Grafana. And again, and I touched on that a few seconds ago, we have Helm. So you can roll any additional workload as you like, even if it's not part of our solution, of our cloud platform, without any bells and whistles. Helm is already set up. So you just need to connect. You just need to say, okay, this is that workload from the Helm registry or from the Helm project's platform service. Just grab it, just download the YAML files, edit them, and then with one command, you have them up and running on your VanillaCloud platform. And all the nice things that you already get with VanillaStack are part of the package as well. And that is basically a lot of additional tools. And frankly, it will grow. So just to shorten it, what is inside VanillaCloud from the very beginning? Kubernetes, because VanillaCloud is based on Kubernetes. Docker CRI-O, Rook Ceph for your storage needs, KubeVirt for your infrastructure automation for your virtual machines, Cloud Foundry, GitLab CI, and Harbor, Prometheus, Grafana, the whole Elk stack can be rolled out quite easily. The same is true for the F stack, Jaeger, and you have security tools like Aqua, Falco, and Claire already being part of the platform or being available as additional rollouts. And believe me, there will be more to come, because Cloudical just recently partnered with Polyverse, which allows you to make VanillaStack and VanillaCloud the most secure Kubernetes platform on the planet. So then another point I want to touch upon, there are different performance tiers with VanillaCloud available right from the beginning. So it's basically standard and performance. And let me make one point pretty clear. We are working intensively on adding additional performance tiers, because we plan to make VanillaCloud available as an HPC cloud as well. Stay tuned for that, because the announcement is not right around the corner, but it's not far away. But let's talk now about the already available performance tiers. So standard. Standard is based on virtual machines. You won't be exposed to the virtual machines. It's more like understanding the level of power you can expect. So standard is always based on virtual machines, so you always have some sort of a shared environment. We support up to 32 gigabytes RAM per VM, up to 16 vCPUs per VM, and up to 1 terabyte additional storage per VM. So if you don't have enough storage, or if you don't feel like having enough storage, you can add up to 1 terabyte per VM. You always have an external load balancer inclusive, so it's not like your cluster would be responsible for doing all the heavy lifting and all the heavy load balancing stuff. That is handled externally, and you can run it either with some predefined domain by us, or you can bring your own domain. Performance. It's a little bit misleading. It's not like 5 VM sizes, it's like 5 machine sizes. We offer up to 256 gigabyte per machine. Each machine can have up to 12 core or 24 threads per CPU. We can have up to 3.84 terabytes additional storage per machine. And again, external load balancers inclusive, and bring your own strategy. Or, just to make it pretty short and make it pretty clear, there is a lot of power in that. Okay, then something pretty important, because VanillaCloud is a little bit different than your traditional kind of cloud environment. With VanillaCloud, we have a somewhat different hosting strategy from, say, Azure, AWS, or Google, because VanillaCloud is purposely set up as a virtual cloud. What does that mean? That means that our data centers are operated and run by our respective partners. And that basically implies that we, as the people setting up VanillaCloud and running VanillaCloud, are purposely working with local partners from your country, with local and trustworthy partners from your country, and integrate them into our virtual cloud. So it could be, and it will be, that different data centers might offer different, for example, performance tiers. Could even lead to the fact that perhaps different data centers might offer or might require you to accept different prices. We will lay that out transparently, so you will always know who the hosting partner is, and you will always have very transparent pricing on that. We start now with 2 data centers, one in Germany, one in Finland. And new data centers in the EU will be available in Poland, Netherlands, and Latvia in Q1 2021. And that is just the beginning. We are planning to have data centers in literally every single country. That is the EU, and outside the EU, we are also in the process of onboarding data centers in the UK, US, and Asia. That process is supposed to happen until the end of Q2 2021. I would expect it to be a little bit earlier, but you know, technology and partners are always a great thing. Speaking of 2021, we have with VanillaCloud a roadmap, because VanillaCloud is a completely new offering. That offering is basically available from tomorrow. We will start with a soft launch tomorrow. That soft launch basically implies that you would be able to sign on, that you would be able to select your configuration, that you would be able to link your billing information with VanillaCloud, and that our team is doing the rollout of the platform. The rollout itself is completely automated, but we want to make sure that all of the processes are keeping up. That's why we do that with some sort of manual audit. So it might take like 1 or 2 hours up to a day until a cluster is actually rolled out. That is changing mid of January, because mid of January we are starting our official beta. The beta is actually then already completely automated. The audits are basically then stopped, and we will just make sure that we roll out additional features one by one. And the global availability of VanillaCloud is planned for March 15th. You might ask, what about productive workloads? Well, we are completely sure about what we can offer you. That's why productive workloads are available already from the soft launch period. And that basically implies starting tomorrow on a one-by-one basis, because we will not roll it out to everyone. Initially, it might take 1 or 2 days because we need to clear the queue. Starting tomorrow, you will be able to run your productive workloads on VanillaCloud. Then perhaps a pretty important question is, what sets VanillaCloud apart from other clouds? And I feel like that is a very, very important point to touch upon. First of all, contrary to other platforms, VanillaCloud is completely based on an open source platform. That is also true for many of the smaller clouds, but if you look onto the huge hyperscaler cloud environments, no. They might incorporate open source platforms and incorporate open source features, but there's no such thing as a true end-to-end open source cloud there. VanillaCloud is truly open source end-to-end because it is VanillaStack. Another aspect, containers first. VanillaCloud is a Kubernetes cloud, and that basically implies that it is perfect to run containerized workloads and that it is possible and able to run virtual machines. That's not to say that virtual machines are running worse than they would run on another cloud. Absolutely not. But the focus for VanillaCloud is different. VanillaCloud's focus is containerized workloads. We give you the tools to roll out virtual machines, to set up traditional kind of workloads. Absolutely no issues, absolutely no worries with them. And actually they would benefit from what VanillaCloud offers them. But again, the focus of VanillaCloud is container first. For you as a customer, it is simplicity because you just choose your cluster size. You just choose some additional options like what kind of load balancer do you want to use and so on and so forth. How big should the storage be? Those things. And then just press a button and everything else is done automatically. And you get, I already touched on that, a predictable pricing because the size of your cloud environment, the size of your Kubernetes environment is fixed. If you want to add a node, well, go ahead and do that, but that is done by you. If you want to remove a node, well, do that. You always have a predictable pricing, and if you have enough resources in your cluster, then you can run as many virtual machines as you like. You can always use VanillaCloud with the vanilla tools and vanilla components. And again, we won't impose any vendor lock on you. There won't be any, period. But we will bring in additional tools. We will bring in additional offerings. But then again, always as an opportunity, always as an alternative, and not as something that locks you in. Pretty importantly, we care a lot about privacy and transparency. So with VanillaCloud, you will always have your own customer management. You will always have your own container management. You will always have your own storage. You are independent of other customers, of other users of the platform, and we don't spy on you. We are not interested in, understanding too many of your insights. You are the customer. You deserve privacy. You deserve the transparency of what happens, and you get that with VanillaCloud. And you might actually see that if you happen to head over to vanillacloud.io, because there is no cookie consent banner, for example. Yeah, and that is purposely there because we don't even use cookies on our homepage. We don't spy on you. We don't want to spy on you. And again, we have a very innovative partner model. So our data center partners and potential new data center partners are always welcome to the game and can always count on us in making something and setting something up that works for all of us, you as a customer included. So what do you need to do if you want to know more? Now that's quite simple. Head over to vanillacloud.io and register. From tomorrow, again, we will start clearing the queue, giving you access to the dashboards one by one on a step-by-step basis, and make it available to you. And if you want to speak about VanillaCloud, well, feel free to do so. Hashtag VanillaCloud or hashtag VanillaStack, because again, VanillaCloud is VanillaStack, and that basically is what sets it apart from other platforms. It is truly open source, it is privacy and transparency focused, and it is Kubernetes. And it runs, I can tell you, it runs like hell. So, glad you joined today. Head over to vanillacloud.io, register today, and then get access to the platform over the next days. Looking forward to working intensively with you on VanillaCloud. And if you don't want to run it in a cloud environment, well, head over to vanillastack.io, because that is still available and it won't ever go away, because to us, both parts of the world are equally important. The data centers, the privately run infrastructures, as well as the public clouds. Thank you for joining in today, and see you soon on VanillaCloud